It's time for everybody. Wake up, everybody. This for everybody. Come together, everybody. It's time for everybody. Trying to reach everybody.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Erabody's podcast, where generations collide and cultures combine. Today, we have a great show for you. As special guests for today, we have a Warren Easton alumni and LSU rising senior. And she's also a book author by the name of LaJay Watts. But we'll get on about more of that later on in the show. For now, it's your boy, Ricky.
And I'm the Honorable Darren D. Purnell, the street speaker himself. What's up, Rick?
What's going on, D?
Oh, man, Rick, I seen a story, and I had to bring this one to you, Rick.
What you got?
I want to know what Rick think about this.
What you got, my brother?
A man approached the pastor and told the pastor, Pastor, you know how pastors is over their bread. He said, my mother is elderly and on a fixed income. She do not have the money for to pay tithes and offerings. She don't have the money like that. She's paying the church, but come in and beg for light bill support and other essential needs from other people. And he got the pastor on camera. The pastor was like, everybody should be able to tithe. And he said, Pastor, I'm telling you now, I'm warning you. He giving him that warning. Rick, the pastor this close from getting his ass whooped or whatever. So if you in that situation, that's your mother, she's calling you for light bill help, but she make enough with her check. She just don't have enough to participate in that tithes and offering. So what would you do?
I'm gonna have to print out a fake preacher certificate, and I'm gonna be my mama pastor, bro.
Yeah.
But I feel how he feel about that situation, because as a young kid, I was a teenager, and it's real story. Before Pastor Everett took over the Rock of Ages, I think it was probably one or two pastors before him. I attended that church. I went on professional poem reading tours for that church, right? But when it was time to vote for the pastor that I felt, I had more connection with, I felt like he could get the job done, they told me I couldn't vote because I wasn't paying tithes. And I didn't understand, the reason. But being young, I ain't know they want young people to pay tithes to be a part of the church either.
So how old you was?
I had to be like 13 or 14 years old, bro. Oh. I was like a young boy.
Hold on, how they gonna expect you to pay tithes?
I'd have no clue. So I feel for that, that man who went and tried to represent his mother, because I was in a similar situation just at a younger age. She's older, but that happened in real life in real time.
Right. So in it's sad, and I heard the pastor say, he was like,
everybody gotta pay tithes.
Everybody gotta pay tithes. And then for you to get kicked out, not having voting power because you can't pay tithes or whatever, and this is one of those, I know they got a lot of pastors that's gonna say, well, we do a lot of good, but this is one of those things that make people stay away from the church.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And he looking at him, and you know how you got to read the room? The man giving pastor his warning.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure pastor can read. You know how you before somebody get their ass whooped, they already had a warning. It's not a surprise ass whooping.
Yeah.
It look like it's coming down to that. Look, pastor, man, look. My mama don't take no money from my mom. He giving that. I don't care if she do come. Don't take no money. He on a level like that.
I got you, but still, how you know if mom's the one who gave the money?
No, she paying her tithes.
Right.
So
what do you mean?
When he going over his mama financing and all that,
he means go saying, kick her back her money, run her back her money.
Yeah. Well, he basically saying, well, look, I'm gonna go ahead on and cover it now. Don't take no more, because what she doing is she getting her first or whatever for retirement, whatever they get, and she able to pay her bills or whatever. But she giving to the church, and maybe she giving to the church in a way. Because he's supposed to tithe 10%. Mm-hmm. But let's just say if my income was $3,000 a month,
right?
But now it's $1,000, and I'm still giving $300, which is 10%, instead of giving off my $1,000, which is supposed to be $100. She may be still giving in a way like she was when she was working,
right?
But she don't possess the income to do that
right.
no more. And it was like he ain't have no passion for my seniors. Like, she not you as a senior. he say elderly, like you up in
Yeah.
age or whatever,
Yeah.
like but it was like he ain't show no compassion or nothing like that for her. So in that situation, Rick, it's one of those things that run a lot of people away from the church or whatever.
Well, the younger people, I mean, the older people, elders, they locked in.
Yeah,
Like they'll spend they
last
bottom
with the pastor.
dollar on it. Yeah, like.
that's-
But
yeah.
the younger people, I think we are starting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
no
like it's
return.
almost it's
It's
no
no
return,
return.
and it's almost like a sense of corruption.
Yeah, it is.
Like for real, like young people starting to see that, and they turning their backs on the church.
Yeah, and a lot of people, this what's going on because the young people not in church, they could see it. You can just read on the wall. I'm gonna give you my bill money.
Right.
That don't make no sense.
And then when I need something, because we done seen that a bunch of times too.
A million times.
Yeah, you need something, the church will give you the podium, but they ain't gonna give you $1.
Right. And it's sad. These organizations taking heavily advantage of young, old, whoever can give and whoever can contribute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad. Did I ever tell you the story about our whole family got put out of church?
No.
Our whole family
No.
had to be like 8 or 7. My family we was going to a church, and I had a nice little roll of ones, and I this is my bare minimum. If I had $1, the collection plate going around 2 times. I'm putting a quarter each time, and I'm keeping 50 cents.
Yeah.
I'm not about to give you my $1.
Yeah.
I'm a kid. I'm gonna give you my whole $1.
Right.
That don't make no sense. I used to stop at the store and get 4 quarters and break that $1 to make sure I give you a quarter this time, a quarter next time. Well, this time I was heavy. I had a little knot on me, and the plate came around, and I put $1 in there. The pastor looked at me and said, "You could do better than that."
What?
Yeah, he looked at me. I put it right back in my pocket. Because on this day was youth day. So I'm like a junior deacon. You're sitting in the front. So that's how he seen my lanai.
Say, bro.
Rick, that boy came. My uncle said, "My nephew ain't about to come. My Uncle Leo." And next thing you know, our whole family about to fight the whole church.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah, we put out. That's the last time our whole family.
Nah, that's
our
wild.
Whole family.
That's a wild story.
Look, the pastor never came off the pulpit. He
Yeah.
believed in God that day.
Yeah.
Because if he came down, his ass would have been whooped.
That's-
Our whole family.
That's wild.
Yeah,
though.
so trying to get extra money. And I was like about 8.
Yeah.
Well, what I was like putting more in here?
That's crazy.
I ain't created a light bill or nothing up in here or whatever.
And another thing I think they should do too, like in the church, you have a section for the lay people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, don't pass the offering tray around and you just came to these people.
Right.
Like go to one section that you dedicate. You got the ushers guiding people here and there. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Man, make a spot for the lay people who missed the first one so they can, they
Right.
can give on a second turn. Not making people feel like, ooh, because people have this guilt, like,
Yeah,
like
that's what they do,
Jesus
the
is
guilt.
gonna punish you and for not giving 2 times.
And then, the pastors work out a deal. The deal is, let's just say if your normal collection plate is $1,500, if I can convince them to get more than that,
Mhm.
all that's me.
That's the pastor.
Yeah, so like say I'm preaching at your church,
Mhm.
and your normally is $1,500, and now my deal with you is anything over $1,500 is mine. So if I take it up to that collection plate to $2,200, them extra $700 for me.
What? I
Yeah,
ain't
so that's
know
how they
that.
do it. That's why around time they go to talking on a little stronger. It's your season this season or whatever.
I ain't about
Giving,
I ain't about to look. That's the next subject.
So they go to getting into big spiritual because they trying to beat the hurdle.
Next
But
subject,
anyway,
bro.
it's this here hitting home to you, Rick. We talked about this last year.
Mhm.
We look at the news again. On your street, a kid got away. Thank God he got away.
Mhm.
He about to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
How,
Well, he got
how you
kidnapped.
Feel? No, he
He
got
got
kidnapped
kidnapped
and got away.
and got away.
How you feel like that's close to home, Rick?
Mhm.
Same street or whatever. You ride down the same street.
Yeah.
This close to home. How do that feel? Like in your backyard, you got boys. I know you teach them to fight or whatever, but anybody can be overpowered by somebody.
Of course.
Especially the white van. How do that feel?
Yeah, so I heard that it was 2 white people.
Yeah.
2 white people, and they apprehended the kid. Well, they stole the kid, and the kid, wherever they put him at, the kid had enough sense to get away.
Get away.
I'm happy for that situation. I don't care. It was on my block. It was literally like about 2 minutes of walking distance from my block, so which is like a block away. And my kids play on the block.
Right.
I'm more angry, bro. I'm gonna say I'm more angry because nobody's seen nothing. Like nobody's seen nothing. And I'm gonna go back to like the old days. I don't know if this is just the times that we in. I remember they had neighborhood watch.
Right.
When they had shifts where they had grandma or uncle on the porch, just making sure that the hood was protected. You know what I'm saying? Or the community was protected. So I'm pissed off about that aspect. And all the crime cameras and stuff, like they have crime cameras on that same corner. They still had never caught the people who did this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's frightening to have young boys or have children, period. And you have to worry about them being taken from you,
Man,
from somebody, and no telling what they going to do. Take their organs,
Right.
manipulate their body, or whatever they going to do with them, bro.
Right.
That's a scary situation.
Man, scary feeling.
Even more so when it hits so close to home. But I'm pissed off behind that, D.
Man, and you would think between all the Ring doorbell cameras and everything,
Something would have cost something.
they would have cost something.
Even a crime. They literally have a crime camera on that corner.
And this is they have fly cameras throughout the system. So if they were driving that car, they could easily beam. And I don't know if it's lazy work. I don't know if they was in a stolen car and they could track down a vehicle but can't track down the people. But technology has come too far in this situation for not catch them too no good son of bitches and put them where they belongs at or whatever. And it's just sad, man, because we was this last year around the same time we had to talk about the same thing. They tried to take a child. The child got away again last year.
Yeah.
So shouts out to the kids fighting their ass off.
Yeah, they fighting on their own too.
Fighting on their own to get away, man.
Yeah.
And I did, as a child, who wants to deal with and got the trauma, which we will be talking about later, of having to escape from a kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
man,
that's a lot. It's scary. A
man.
person pull up and pull a bag over your head. But again, it's like, where are we as a community?
Yeah.
Like, did we not hear the rumble? Did we not hear the screams?
Right.
Like, where are we? We so far in our own world that we care about nothing outside our four walls, bro.
Right. And it's man, it's a scary feeling, especially to have the young kids to go through something like that, man.
But it's funny. It's not funny, but it's a sad story that like every day, like for the last week and a half, every day a kid has been getting abducted.
Man.
I don't know if you've been getting the notifications come to your phone, but like it's this getting out of hand. Like this is not supposed to be a norm.
And when something like this becomes a norm, you come numb to it. But we're not gonna make this a norm for people to be taking our kids. This is not.
No, not at all.
So like I said, I didn't look up. I looked up new updates for me. They have no new updates so far. So hopefully, NOPD, state troopers, FBI, whoever, capture these two suspects. It's like crazy, man. And then you think things don't bother you until it hit your backyard. But I respect you as a man because your love for kids. Before it ever hit your street, you had a love and you was a stand-up guy for it. So this didn't hit your street and you started caring about it. You was on the front line before this. So, man, I just hope, man, we got to get better as a city, man. Check on your neighbors. Be a good neighbor. Keep your eyes open, man. Once again, I'm the Honorable Darren D. Purnell. This segment here is brought to you by Everybody's Coffee. Let's take a drink.
Say everybody, speak life to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. And as we promised you, we have the book author LaJay Watts here in the building with us. She's about to go through some errors of information, and I hope y'all catch this. LaJay, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
For the audience who don't know you, give them a little bit about yourself before we get this interview started.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name is LaJay Watts. I'm a rising senior at Louisiana State University. I grew up in New Orleans. I attended New Orleans Public Schools from K through 12th grade. I'm also at LSU's Distinguished Communicator Candidate, which is a prestigious honor awarded to certain individuals who have demonstrated advanced research and communications in my field. I'm so honored to be here today, so excited to talk about empty desks. It's an important topic that I think our community overlooks, and I'm just so happy to bring light to educator mental health awareness.
All right, man, that's a lot. You say from K through 12. What high school did you attend?
Warren Easton.
Warren Easton. Now, y'all been getting some bad publicity
I
lately.
know. Ooh, Lord, yes.
How y'all dip so far? In Warren Easton, in my area, you told your age, so I tell mine. She's 20, I'm 42, so I'm 22 years older than you. And if you went to Warren Easton at 35, like you was all nominated somebody. So how y'all get to all that fighting and all that now that y'all have? How that happen?
Well, to be 100% honest, I never surrounded myself, for lack of better words, with all of the like drama and stuff. So I'm not really sure what goes on in that area. But from my time at Warren Easton, I don't really have anything bad to say about it because I just chose not to participate and make that my high school experience.
Yeah, Warren Easton was like a premier
Yeah, it was.
high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a premier high school.
Yeah.
Coming from John Mack, you know, it's like what? I wish I would have went to Easton.
Right.
Yeah, y'all right up there with Carver now. Y'all.
Nah, that's just jokes. You know.
So, in your high school experience, how was high school? Give us some how it is to be. Were you the honor roll student throughout high school? So, walk me and Rick down there because we have no experience with being the honor roll student walking around high school.
Yeah, and I always tell people I feel like I've done more in high school than I've done throughout my college tenure. From freshman year, COVID, up until I graduated, I've just always been involved in so much. I was on the honor roll all 4 years, graduated with honors, graduated with over $1 million in scholarships. So I just always been dedicated to my education. And I think that stems from just at a very young age, me knowing that my brain is my greatest weapon, you know. So I just wanted to put that to good use, not get involved in some of the stuff a lot of our youth is in, essentially. I just wanted to steer clear of my path. I wanted to keep my own what I wanted to do, and that's what I've been doing, just advocating. Started at a very young age, just advocating and things like that. At Warren Easton specifically, I just did so many internships, so many things. I'm wearing a Youth for NOLA shirt. This was one of the first internships that I did at the end of 10th grade, going into 11th grade, and it just showed me so much that I could just go so much further than New Orleans. At that time, I was interested in going into like healthcare and, you know, healthcare advocacy and things like that. But Youth for NOLA showed me what I really wanted to do. And from there, I did several internships in high school, one with the Louisiana State Bar Association. I studied under some of the top lawyers in the city, which was amazing. I loved doing that. I also interned with the New Orleans Youth Alliance. I did a fellowship with their youth intensive program. So what they do is they train other people to go out and talk about NOYA and try and recruit some youth people. Then I later became a youth ambassador for Youth for NOLA, where I talked to some of the high school juniors and just trying to get them to start thinking about life beyond high school in New Orleans.
That's great. That's really you reach some milestones at a young age. You know how. So that leads me to a question, like, for as the lack of identity that the young people face nowadays, how did you stay true to you around all the noise, you know, that was going on around you? How did you stay true for that kid that needs to hear this message?
Yeah, that's, to answer your question, I definitely think that that's what I talk about and that's what I advocate for, because my experience growing up in New Orleans is totally different than a lot of our other youth. For myself, it never was a time where I felt like I didn't have family support or I didn't have enough resources or enough people in my corner. And that doesn't mean that I can't advocate for something, but what it does mean that I understand what it is to be the person that other children wish that they could be, you know. So just by me having my family who I could always look up to, because a lot of them went to college, they understand what it's like to live in a dorm and to apply to scholarships and things like that. So I had that help, you know, and it pushed me and it made me angry when I would have classmates or when I would do certain things with other students from the city, and at a young age, it just made me realize, wow, like, some of these kids really have nobody. Like, I cannot imagine not having any support. Whatever I do, my family is always supporting me. My mom always shows up, even at times where we might not have everything. My family always shows up for me. So just hearing other kids' story and just hearing, like, they're all that they have, I'm like, it shouldn't be like that. It doesn't just take a adult to steer somebody in the right direction. You know, a lot of our youth who are doing great things and who are maybe on a better path, essentially, we can step up too and help some of our peers out. And that's just what I wanted to do. I wanted to help other kids out. I wanted to get them to realize you guys can do it. How I know you could do it, I'm doing it. So I know that you're capable of doing it as well.
What part of the city are you from? Darren normally asks this question, and I probably beat you to it. What part of the city are you from?
So I stay in Gentilly, around like UNO, like you.
Well, that's technically,
That's the second one.
Yeah.
man, on that map, you say exactly where around UNO.
I stayed at least 2 blocks over
From UNO.
Yes,
Is that
2
the 7
blocks.
or?
That's either the
Seven
7
or
ward
the
or
I
the
eight.
don't
8
know.
ward.
The 8 ward.
The
I don't
7
know.
or the 8 ward. But
Well,
that's not the 9 ward.
oh,
If that's
man.
where you're trying to go, it's not the 9 ward, my
He
brother.
always wants to steal the good people. But I say this when I talk to. I'm glad you say that. When I talk to a lot of young people, and I tell them the faster you mature and start realize what's going on, the better you'll be because you have a better understanding. I think I was one of those kids that understood the dynamics of what was going on in my house at an early age.
Right.
So I think with a lot of kids, even though they're getting older, the mature level of seeing it, and this come with captains of basketball teams, football teams. Like you say, you identify. I remember having a pack of socks and players on my team that the thread was on their socks dropping down, and I bring a whole pack of socks because I got a whole pack. I know
Right.
I can get another pack. Just for them to have a decent pair of socks on, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be an adult, but as a leader, it's some of the things that you identify. You just help them out on going on a journey, and a lot of times sometimes we put kids in position, but they are not mature enough to handle the position. Like they may be the best basketball player or football player on the team, but they should wear the captain along with somebody that can actually be a leader or whatever. And I think a lot of times we promote based off of skill and not the mature on kids. And I think what you just say, identifying, they don't have anybody. So you know what? I'll come to your event. You'll have me and you there if nobody else. And that helps out with a lot of friends.
You're right, but also just at the academic side. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people try to escape that, but that's the foundation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't go to the NFL and be a dumb athlete.
Right. I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you think that is, and especially with boys, you think it's how it's being taught to us in the classroom that makes it like, because they got some teachers, and it's like this in life. They got some people that's qualified, they pass the test, but they just bad teachers. Like before, when I first got my driver license, I couldn't back up a drive. I had partners of mine that can back up 100 miles an hour. They know how to technically drive. I just know how to pass the test. So they got teachers that's smart and can pass the test, but they just not good teachers. And like it's like having a young class and you using the terminologies in with the OJs and Mays instead of coming and using the young rappers or whatever. If you're gonna use the analogy, use on their term, not for the back. So do you think is the teaching method and how they go about teaching it helps also with getting good grades and everything?
Yeah, I don't think that it's necessarily the teaching method, because I think to say that every school and every student is different is just a little bit fallacious. However, I would say that it's the lack of resources within our school system. You have a lot of kids in schools. For example, let me back up. I directed a summer camp. With the summer camp, what I noticed was a lot of the kids I had coming in had IEPs. They had learning differences, intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities, all of these things. So when you have one teacher in front of a classroom, and let's say out of that classroom you have 3 people who are on grade level, let's say reading on grade level, you may have one person who's above grade level, you may have 5 people who's a little bit below grade level, but then you have 12 other people who may have learning disabilities. They may need extra help. So being one person, it's hard to kind of cater to everybody. But to kind of have educators back on this, it's also hard when you're not given the resources and the support and the training to deal with that. Because for myself, like I said, being the kid who was always in the front of the class, always answering the questions, and you look to the back of the class and you can't really fault kids for not paying attention in class when they don't even know what's going on. You can't fault them for not knowing the answer to the question when they generally don't know. So what do you want them to do, what to say? So I definitely think that it's just like the teacher to student ratio in New Orleans classrooms in general. You know, we have too many students with individualized needs, and you have one teacher. So, yeah.
That's a bad situation to be in with any teacher, and that's prevalent in New Orleans consistently. You're just outweighed and outnumbered. Now I'm gonna ask you this: back then in our day, they used to have where no child get kept back. I mean, literally, a child can have all F's on their report card, and their parents used to sign them. Yep. My mother kept me back. They'll sign them and keep on going to the next grade. So now you have a teacher. And you hear about it now that they don't let you get in bad grades. You have to literally, if that child made an F, this is what I'm hearing in the school system. You got to go talk to somebody to get that child the grade that they earn and they deserve. And how do that plays a part into keep advancing a child when you know he or she not ready?
It plays a major part. I would definitely say, as a rising senior in college is humbling. And I say that because coming from school in New Orleans versus, you know, competing in scholarships and different things from kids from Massachusetts, Virginia, where you have some of the top schools in the country. And I'm coming from New Orleans, which is, I think, second to last in education. And it's hard because you get to college and you just think that you've done all of these amazing things and you just speak so well, you stand up so tall and straight. But then when you see other kids, you kind of look at yourself like, whoa, like my school didn't teach me that, or I don't know anything about this author, I don't know anything about what you're talking about. Or even if you have conversations, I know it's some conversations I have and a lot of people are like, oh, I read this book in 5th grade, and I'm like, I didn't read that book, like what were my teachers doing? So it's very humbling, right? Because you get around other people in the world, and once you go out to the world, you realize you don't want to limit yourself to just what New Orleans taught you, or just what the schools are teaching you in general. But like I say, that stems from, do kids have access to go to the library? Do they have people in the household who are talking to them in certain vocabulary and certain language? I say all the time, when you go up the street, you hear kids cursing and using foul language. They learned that from somewhere, you know? So sometimes it's just hard because you want your child to go out and you want them to be advanced and speak well and represent well. But it's very hard when you don't have that representation to follow, you know? But it's very, very humbling going out into the world and you're feeling as if you're not enough. And I've definitely had that, you know, I think we call it imposter syndrome, where you get around these people and you feel like you're less than. But I get to New Orleans and a lot of people think that I'm more than, because I'm around certain kids who don't speak as well as I do, who don't present themselves as better as I may present myself. But I say that to say I've had the same, you know, imposterness, and I have the same indifferences, just in a different setting and in a different environment. So yeah, I would definitely say push your kids, speak to them in a better way. Let them read all that they can, because, you know, you can't advance yourself if you don't read. I read all the time, whether it's reading on your phone, reading a book, or reading a magazine. You have to read. You have to know different ways, because when you get out into the real world and these professionals are talking to you, they're talking to you to put you down. And I learned that a lot, especially going to LSU. It's a lot of people who are going to have conversations with you and they're going to talk in a certain way, thinking that you don't know what they're talking about. Like you just, you know, the average person that they want you to be. But that's not my case. You're not going to talk to me and speak to me in all of these big words, because I know exactly what you're talking about. And you don't want your kids to go out into around these, you know, certain people. Y'all know what I'm saying. You don't want to go around certain people and your child is looked at as like, oh, she went to school in New Orleans, or she went to school in Louisiana. That's not the case for me, you know.
And growing up in New Orleans, it's like our language, they let it slide in New Orleans. I have never in my life had a teacher that enforced grammar and English language. They'll let it slide. If you spell it right on paper, even though you're mispronouncing it, they let it go. And then you go somewhere else, like she just said, and when you go somewhere else, you're like, dang, I'm messing this word up or whatever. And people keep asking you, what are you saying? And you know, sometimes from New Orleans, they'll ask you to say it again in a fun way, but sometimes they disrespecting you, like, like, we'll say that again or whatever, and you mispronouncing it, but you could spell it right, but you just mispronouncing it.
Say Furl.
Yeah, Furl.
Earl.
My cousin from Atlanta go, look, where Earl at? Where Earl at, everybody?
Not Earl. The oil.
So at Warren Easton, did just coming up in your own K through 12, did you have teachers that enforced the English language? Or they just, if you could spell it right, go ahead, it's New Orleans.
I would definitely say that I could, number one, I could name all of my teachers from kindergarten through 12th grade. I love my teachers, but I definitely think that was because I was just that student who prioritized, doing the right thing.
Right.
But I would say I've definitely had certain teachers where I felt like they were teaching in a little bit of a slow way, I guess you could say. It's just like I feel like we could have been a little bit more farther ahead if they would just understand what it's like being outside New Orleans. I definitely think going to school in New Orleans, a lot of people prepare you to just stay in the city, if that makes sense. I think that
Right.
a lot of our schools just prepare you to stay in the city, get your diploma, and that's it. They don't prepare you to go out into the real world and really face these people and, be able to compete for a job or something like that with people who may have better education than you. But I will also say as well, a lot of people say about New Orleans, it's like a big generalization. It's like, oh, the way they talk, their accent and things like that. You don't hear when people talk about New Orleans, you don't hear them saying too much positive stuff if it's not regarding like language and dialects. You don't hear them saying a lot of positive stuff. Like you said, they always are making fun of your accent. They're always like, oh, say baby again and all this type of stuff. And when you get to a certain maturity level, I definitely think it's very hard to not look at that as like, what are you really trying to say? Like, what are y'all really trying to categorize us as? Because to me, sometimes I take it as, are you trying to say that I'm ghetto? Are you trying to say that I'm like, what are you trying to say, right? When you're talking about me like that, and you just think that you're so much better because you don't talk with an accent or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we know we're second to none when it comes to culture
Yes,
and tourism. So
definitely.
I feel like they do praise
Yeah, the way
that one
yeah,
thing that we're good
Right.
at, but they know that education is not one of them. Speaking of the Keith Lee thing, I just want to speak about that as far as education, and this ties into education too. How he was able to come here and make $1.5 million off general admission.
Right.
Kudos to the brother. Off
Right.
our culture though, right?
Right.
And we have all these culture bearers. We have all these great restaurants, and none of them knew that, hey, man, I can put this together for my own people.
Right.
It took somebody else to come from the outside
Right.
with their education and experience and putting stuff together. And he curated an event that created $1.5 million in 10 hours for himself. So they look at us for what they look at us for.
Right.
So I totally agree with everything y'all was saying, but I don't think they clown on us a lot for how we talk and speak, because they would like to do that.
Yeah.
However, they don't want to come here for education for sure.
And I will say that if you go farther down from New Orleans, the brothers who got the Cajun accent, like the heavy one, it's hard to sometimes for us from New Orleans to hear what they saying, because they talk, with that heavy thick Cajun accent or whatever. So I think it's just the location where we at or whatever. I don't think it's a mispronunciation of words, and they got a lot of stuff like in New Orleans, like Nucci Ground. If you somewhere else, they call that the medium.
Yeah.
So it's where you at in your lingo in your own city versus ours. But they got some people that's heavy on pronouncing the English language correctly,
Right.
and I think we dropped the ball tremendously on that.
totally
We butchered the language.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a question too for you. When you were in school, were you a part of Orleans Parish Schools, or were you a part of the charter school system?
I was a part of, I think, the charter school system. I went to Dr. Martin Luther King Charter School, and then Warren Easton is a charter school.
So you were part of the charter system. I don't know if you know, but you make it enlighten us too. The charter systems are claimed to be schools that experiment. Is that right or wrong?
That's correct. The charter school system was an experiment post-Katrina, where they wanted to kind of revamp New Orleans school system, because what happened during Katrina was a lot of kids were misplaced. So our school system was completely just over with. So you had kids who was going to school in Texas, Mississippi, Atlanta, all these surrounding states. So the problem was, when you go to school for Texas for 2 to 3 years in Texas educational system, now you have to come back to New Orleans. And I think that the charter system, the original idea was to try and implement something greater, for lack of better words, for those kids returning back to New Orleans from moving like during Katrina.
Okay. And do you feel at this point in time that that system, that experiment, is working for our young people here? Because I think they said that Louisiana or New Orleans is the only all charter school system that's kind of in existence. But do you feel like that experiment has worked up until this point? for our young people?
I would say the charter system in itself, I think that it's a good idea. I like a lot of the programs we have came a long way with New Orleans, like the charter school system. I love how they are emphasizing more on career readiness. I know a lot of schools, my school, Warren Easton, we had um, pre-educators program where you could graduate with your teaching certificate. We had NOCC where you could graduate as a nursing assistant and do all of these things. We had the Academy of Hospitality and Tourism. If you want to do what you guys doing, have your own podcast, have your own business, we had an academy where you could have graduated with that certificate and those honors before you even reach college. So I definitely like how down the line they're emphasizing more on career readiness, because I think that it's important to give kids, especially at that age in life, something to look forward to after high school. However, sometimes I do feel as if you don't want to make school just about career readiness. And I also feel as if being ready for a career doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with how smart you are, but it also has a lot to do with who you know, the type of connections you can make, the type of emails you can write. Those are also important skills that we need to be teaching. I definitely think that New Orleans is one of those schools, one of those cities in general, where career readiness is kind of emphasized over academics. And we see it a lot. We see a lot of people saying, oh, I graduated with this certificate, I graduated with this, I graduated with that. But what about like the test scores? I know a lot of schools are like, okay, if all the students graduated, let's say you have like 100% graduation rate, but yet the ACT scores are like not that high, or you have your LEAP scores are not that high, but everybody have like their CNA certificate or something like that, which is great. Like I said, I love career readiness, but I do think that I wish people emphasize academics and the importance of academics the same way they emphasize the importance of wanting to be a nurse or a lawyer or a football player and all these other things. If you don't have the educational foundation, you're not going to make it. And I mean that. You like it may work in New Orleans, it may work down south, but when you get in rooms with certain people, you realize that education does matter. And I don't want people to always equate education to how you talk or where you come from, but it's about how well you can interpret and comprehend information. If you get in trouble and go to jail, you need to understand the papers that you are signing. If you want to buy a house, you need to understand what you're signing. You need to understand. And with that, school has to teach you that. It has to come from somewhere. You have to be able to comprehend stuff, because in a world that we're living in, we are surrounded by people who want to do everything but make us feel like we're not enough. And a lot of that making us feel like enough has to do with academics. It has to do with making us feel like we're fools or we're not smart enough. And I just don't want that for our community as a whole. I want us to be able to stand on our own. I'm so happy you mentioned the Keat Lee stuff, because it all connects. You see what I'm saying? It just all connects. If we had, I feel like, the educational power in the city, the same way we have the culture and the same way we have all of this entrepreneurship, the reason why I believe we can't do all of these big things and come up with the ideas is because we don't emphasize the educational part of those things. You can put all of these career pathways into the schools, but if you're not emphasizing how to interpret information, we're not going to get anywhere. You could be the most creative person, but you also need to be able to stand on your own and understand how to navigate these things. Now, Keat Lee, he may be different. He may know all of the ins and out of businesses and stuff like that, but he needed New Orleans and our culture for the creativity part of it. For New Orleans, I want our city to be able to do both. I want us to be able to have our own culture, our own identity, but also I want us to have our own interpretation of what that means to go out and do these big things. I want us to have our own festivals, our own banks, our own everything, because we're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And you said something very important. You said the interpretation of on education. When I was in school, I don't know if they still have it, but welding, carpentry, all that was in there. And when you read the report, AI is not coming for those jobs. It's the other jobs that's heavily emphasized in schools now that AI will wipe out or whatever. But the welding and carpentry, do they still have that in schools heavy like it used to be? Because we had auto mechanic, carpentry, brick mason, we had all that. So they still have it in there?
Well, at At the school I went to, yes, with the partnership we did with NOCC, which is the New Orleans Career Center, they have like welding and engineering classes and all of those type of things. I'm not sure if NOCC is like partnered with every single charter school,
Right.
but at Warren Easton specifically, you could have chose like that career pathway.
Would you like a sales class in school? Because I feel as though like you see a lot of talented people, but sales is not emphasized. And
No.
salesmen make the most money when it's all said and done. They always make in every field make the most money.
Definitely. I think that we need more finance. We need more. I would say just. I know when you go to law school, you have a class that you take where it's like you have to understand documents and you have to understand how to like interpret papers, right? So I would like a class where our students can just better understand some of the things that they're signing and some of the things that they're like reading off of as well.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. This segment is brought to you by Everybody's Coffee. Let's take a drink.
Say everybody. Speak life to everybody.
Welcome back, everybody. I told y'all this was going to be a good episode, man. But I want to send, you said you went to Martin Luther King. I want to send a special shout out to Coach Mack at Martin Luther King and also Mr. Clarence Ate. He will be a guest on the show. Mr. Ate was teaching at Johnson C. Lockett when I was there. He's been an educator for over 30 years. And there's a rumor out there that if your child go in Mr. Ate kindergarten class, it's not up for discussion or debate, they're going to learn how to read.
Yeah.
That was my pre-K teacher.
Shouts out Mr. Clarence Ate, man. 30 years of educating,
Yeah.
and we would definitely have him on here. But I know he's proud of you and what you have done. This book, as a 27-time author myself, and me and Rick have a book also together to see young people, and I encourage young people to write. You got a story, you got a verse, or whatever. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so Empty Desk is a research-based publication. It's something that I've been working on for over a year now. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a LSU's Distinguished Communicator candidate. And what that means is we have to have such a large portfolio upon graduation. So this book is just something that I wanted to kind of add to my professional portfolio as well as I aim to win an award. But it's also something that I feel like the city needed. It touches on educator trauma. It touches on trauma depth. It touches on just all of the grief our educators face. I think a common misconception that I got when people was reading the book, because it is a research, so a lot of it I pulled data from Tulane's Trauma Informed Lab, I pulled data from NOPD's Crime Lab and things like that, and a lot of people told me about just stopping violence and things like that. So I just want to kind of reiterate that Empty Desk is not about gun violence prevention. It's about educators' mental health and how to stop the trauma depth within educators. I also talk about like secondhand trauma. One of the most important pieces was that NOPD reported a 60% drop in violent crime. So with that comes the crime aftermath, like that shockwave, essentially. So when you have a city who's just built upon so much grief, especially within our community, how do you expect teachers to effectively teach a classroom? How do you expect students to pay attention when they have all of these things going on around them? It's a great publication. I authored it myself. I did the designs myself. I wrote everything myself. It was peer reviewed by some of the most leading educationalists in America, which I'm proud of that. It took a while, lots of emails to get them to read it and give me some feedback on it. And once I got the kind of the all clear to publish it, I put it out there. I printed out some copies, and it's just, took off from there. I didn't expect it to get as big outside. It's kind of big, like outside the city. I'm going to Atlanta to present at a conference about it in Atlanta. And I just love that because I want people to not just look at New Orleans as like a city of that trauma depth. You just get so tired of every time I hear someone talk about New Orleans, it's always just the same thing. Oh, the crime, the can't read, can't do this, can't do that. So I wanted to put just a more positive light on the city. I love when I go somewhere and I tell people I'm from New Orleans because I want people to look at me and I want people to image something more, positive about the city.
Right. So let me ask you this question. I mean, I heard of emotional depth. I heard of financial depth.
Yep.
But trauma depth. Explain that to us.
Yes. So I define trauma depth as the psychological tolls educators face after experiencing the loss of one of their students. And basically, what it means is if I'm a teacher and I'm teaching specifically, this book is about NOLA public schools and charter schools and things like that. So if I'm a teacher and I'm losing at least 2 to 3 students a year due to violent crime, where are the resources for me? Where are the emergency preparation programs and things in place for our teachers? I'm just kind of tired of everyone blaming the teachers essentially for a lot of the stuff that's happening in the city as far as we need better schools, we need better things like that. I think that the teachers we have put a lot of heart into what they do. It's not a teacher that I didn't have that didn't offer to take me home after a game, that didn't offer to pay some of my dance budget, that didn't offer to go above and beyond. And it kind of hurts because I want to be a future educator myself, but I also want to know that I can do my job effectively. And with doing my job effectively, I need the mental health resources for the specific district that I'm teaching in. Some of the stuff that I talked about as well, it's like for Teach for America or like a Go Teach program. And with these programs, what they do is they tell you, okay, we're going to pay for your tuition, we're going to pay for your housing, but you have to teach in like a tier 1 school or something like that. And basically it's like the worst schools. They just throw you in there. But nowhere in the contract does it say we'll pay for your therapy after you experience all of these things that's going on. So it's just about, I understand people want more educators. People want, we need more teachers, we need more counselors. But with that, we need more job retention as well. New Orleans has a 26% teacher retention rate, and that's not very good because a lot of the teachers that come in, they're not staying, they're leaving. And I just wanted to get to the bottom of that. And I believe that the bottom of it is carrying the city's grief.
And you heard me say this before, Rick. Mr. Talk about Mr. Ernest Lewis and Mr. Clarence. I tell you that they have taught us, and what you just saying, losing kids. The summer we graduated from 6th grade, my best friend, he got killed, and that was a big hit. And I think back then it was even worse because they taught generations of families. So it wasn't I just know this kid, but I don't know his older brother. Back then it was I taught his brother, his sister. He was the last child. So these teachers at Lockett taught all of them, and then now he get killed. So it's not, I know the whole family. I've been knowing the mama. I've been knowing this. And I asked Mr. Ernest Lewis this question, and you heard me ask this question. I say, when you look at the news and see one of your kids on the news for doing something wrong, killed, selling drugs, whatever, he said, a little part of me died. He been teaching over 40 years. Mr. Ate been teaching over 30 years. So imagine in 30 years the kids that he have to heal and keep teaching when you're teaching in bad communities or whatever. So how can we change the approach of, because in the city this is a norm. Yeah. How do you change teachers from not experiencing that? What can we do to help them get through this hurdle?
Yeah, so I'm happy you mentioned that it's a norm. So one of the analogies that I like to make when I talk about empty desk specifically, think about it like this. When you go to the military, specifically if you do active duty, right, and you fight at war or you do all of these things, when you leave, you have PTSD. You get a check because you've experienced something traumatic. So they fund the military for going out and witnessing all these people getting shot and killed and blown up and things like that. So I like to make that analogy because what's the difference from being a teacher or educator, which is a career as well, just like being someone in the military, and you're also witnessing kids dying due to violent crime at such a fast rate. So you're experiencing the same amount of trauma, or you're experiencing, in a sense, the certain level of trauma that a lot of our military experiences, a lot of the police officers and firefighters and people experiencing these traumas, but yet it's so much in place for them. But you don't hear people talk about what's in place for our teachers. So I made that analogy to say it's quite that easy. People always say, okay, so what can we do about it? What can we do? We can start noticing, and we can start just accepting the fact that we have a problem here in New Orleans. We have a serious problem when it comes to our young people dying. We have a problem when it comes to not having the adequate mental health resources for our teachers. And the first step into making change is just recognizing that teaching in this city is not really a good thing on your mental health, because you're seeing so much. And aside from seeing kids dying due to violent crime, you have kids who don't even have rides to school. They don't have money to do the extracurriculars. You have kids who are going through so much, but yet you have nothing in place. So I definitely think that's step one. If people just start recognizing being a teacher specifically in this city is, to me, no different than, like I said, going to the military at this point and watching people get killed. It's no difference, because you're sitting here and you're witnessing it, but they're children. These are children we're talking about. These are not adults. These are adolescents that we're talking about that are dying, that are essentially leaving their desks empty. And I just want people to just start, like, let's think about that. You know, I hate when people who's not from the city speaks on New Orleans education, because y'all would never understand. You know, they would never understand.
I wanna. This might be redundant because it sounds like you answered a little bit of this, but this specific question comes from some seminars that you already held, right? And we need clarity. How do we hold a space for grief in a system that's designed to keep moving?
Yeah, so I definitely think in the book, in my chapter called The Final Lesson Plan, I talked about having a grief period. I think that in this city, it's important to teach not only kids, but adults as well, how to grieve properly. Grief is endless. Everyone grieves differently. So with that, you cannot just expect a child to die and school is open the next day. I got a lot of backlash from this because it was like, we don't want to close schools. I don't either. So I think that it will be nice to implement a grief period within schools. So when a traumatic event like this happens, it's more so of the school comes together and hold each other up. And I think that's something that we don't see in New Orleans schools. Like, we always see people have like the balloon release and things like that, but you don't really see a lot of stuff that happens within the schools. You don't see like what goes on in the schools after something like this happens. So I think that that'd be really cool to do, like the grief period. And how I had it, the idea that I had it was just take a day. Everyone needs to take a day off from just learning and academics, and we need to look at the human aspect of what just happened. Aside from being a teacher and aside from being a student, you're a human first. You can't just expect people to keep going through traumatic events and witnessing all of these traumatic things, but not taking care of themselves as a human being and as their mental health as well.
And when not outside of just having a kid pass away, I was fortunate in my life where Mr. Perry Toll, my favorite teacher, like a father figure to me. He used to pick me up from the project and bring me to the school. So I watched him come out of his own pocket to kids that hygiene wasn't right, buy for them. I watched him have to discipline, which is different now in schools. He disciplined kids, dropping kids off. Right now, they just passed a bill where they say they're not going to give teachers raise, and they're not even giving them their $2,000 stipend. So outside of being a teacher, it's a tough job because you're trying to educate people that's undereducated, and their housing situation is affecting how they're acting in class. Ain't like you getting 25 people that's come and sit down that's well-mannered, come from two-parent households or whatever. You're getting some people that have come out of just went to sleep on that night or whatever, and they can't do their homework because they ain't got Wi-Fi. They didn't eat, and they came to school late, and you faced to deal with all of these 25 different personalities. So what was the worst case you seen another student in your class, you don't have to say their name, but the condition that you can see as a child that they was in?
Yeah, tough one. I would definitely say I went to Easton. It wasn't necessarily like...
It can go from high school, middle school, any one of them.
I would definitely say with Caleb. Y'all know Caleb Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I danced. I was an Elegant Eaglet. Caleb was in the band. So it was just awful for me. I just never in my life read something that just immediately I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to just go to school, go to class that day. It was just awful. And not only was it awful, it was one of the first times in my life where it's like, he's just young. Like, I feel like it when you're younger, myself being a younger person, and you think about death and things like this, I used to always think it was like inevitable for young people. I used to think that you have to get old, and once you live your life, you may develop a disease or something. But that's not the case in New Orleans. You have people who are not making it to 15 and 16 years old, and this is the normal for us. So, can you imagine that in some countries where the violent crime rate is like a 1% compared to here, it's like it's certain places in the world where this is not a normal. This is like astonishing almost. So, definitely just when Caleb passed on, it was just awful for me. And even though he didn't pass on to gun violence, he passed on to a violent hate crime. And I think that that's equivalent. It just was so sad for me personally. I just didn't know what to do. And I think that a lot of people say that, we have resources and things like this, but me personally, I just don't think that if you're not from the city, you just would never understand. You would never understand what it's like to just live in this bubble where everything just feels like a cycle. Everything feels like what happened yesterday is going to happen today. It's just awful. And I think that it's a testament to everyone who's from this city who has made something out of themselves. It's hard. It's hard to try to do better. It's hard to try and steer forward when you just know all the people that have been left behind or that may be left behind.
Rick, have somebody passed away while you was in any of your time in school?
Yeah, of course. I mean, a bunch of people. I'm
Yeah.
from the St. Bernard Project, brother. I seen the first person who I've seen died, well, actually got killed, was one of my best friend's brother. And by the time we got there, like, his body was still warm and his brain was just blew out. I had to be like 7 years old. And from that time moving forward, bro, I literally wet the bed, like for the longest, because I had nightmares. This wasn't just a random person, you know what I'm saying? This was somebody that you knew. And when you feel the impact of how it makes your friend feel, and this guy touch you or he discipline you, that's a tough feeling, So I had sweats, nightmares, all type of stuff, jumping out the bed. Like, it was crazy for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I really got over it, but again, I still live with certain images in my mind that I wish I never discovered when I was a young person.
And with myself, I had my best friend. His name was Darren. Also, Darren Franklin getting gunned down. My friend Byron Brown but this all in school. Byron Brown, friend of mine named Kevin Mosley, go by his auntie house across the river. The apartment complex got an elevator on there, but it's broken. So they planned. He hid under the elevator, some kind of way, tripped and smashed him. This all while we in school. One of the most famous ones where they shut down on whole George Washington Carver. A good friend of ours, growed up with his daddy. We used to cut out hair. His name was Juka. Juka got killed for the same. Me and him got the same outfit on: a first down jacket and a first down boots. That was a style out, and they asked him for directions, and then they try to rob him. He couldn't get his boots off in time. They shot him and killed him. We out there, so all this in time, but not one time has a counselor ever been at school. None of that. You just go to, and all this stuff happened. You just go to school the next day. You tell the teacher, or whatever. But the worst thing that happened was, we used to catch the bus at 7:15. They had a guy shot 3 people, and he ran towards our way. Not one kid moved. And he said, as he passing us, "Ain't nobody seen nothing, huh?" And it was like the choir. No. We got right on the school bus, went to school. When we got out, this is the worst part about it. We got out of school, we was playing in our community gym. Guess who was in the community gym playing? That same dude. And just did a quadruple murder. So it's endless in seeing these things in the city of New Orleans.
And I want to add too to like this topic is like we have in this sense, right? I feel like the education that you get throughout your studies is important, of course, but they disqualify individuals who have the lived experience. you know.
Yeah.
And that's a part when you talk about counseling. You need people in there who overcame a situation.
Right.
So these young people can feel like, oh, I relate to this. You're not just coming at me with your education and trying to
Right.
persuade me to do something. Like, you can't empathize with me.
Right.
You sympathizing, but you can't empathize. You know, I need you to be more empathetic than sympathetic.
Right.
So I feel like, just to add to that, is like, when you go through that, especially for me, I'm that type of person.
Right.
Like, I like to be around people I feel like went through certain stuff too.
Yeah.
Now, the education component, I like to be around people who smarter than me.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I feel like I need like real street knowledge about something, I'm not about to go to an educator about that.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's the swimming out of the book, I call it. You didn't read a book on how to swim, and now it's time to get in the pool. You ain't got no experience at all getting in the pool. Like, man, and you wonder why you getting disrespected because you ain't never been in the pool.
Yep.
But this person that been in the pool, because of their record of something, the school system won't let them come up there and tell their story about. But I was in the pool, so it's one of those things, and it happened a lot. Some of our best and our brightest, because they got 1 or 2 felonies on their record. Technically, to me, they got the experience to be in those situations that that will prevent a lot of stuff, but because of the laws, they won't let them get in. Now, I'm not saying the person that straight box can't teach, but I'm just saying somebody with a little bit more experience, respectable. Being hall monitors they got in there, when you see them, like, one thing about a boy, when he see a man, Joe Clark,
Don't tighten up.
he all that goes out the window,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Well, Mr. Such and Such ain't playing.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and once again, this segment is brought to you by Everybody's Coffee. Let's take a drink.
Say everybody, speak life to everybody.
Welcome back, everybody. Man, I mean, we play a lot, but we had to bring an education segment because this is so important. And I know a lot of teachers, I would send this out personally to them for them to watch, just to let them know that we standing up for them. And also, we talked about Key Lee Festival. We do have the Shake Back Festival. We have to give a special shout out to Brother Stephan for putting together the Shake Back Fest. That's going to be on June 21st. And we have the 27. And we have the honor to cover that festival. So shouts out to the festival. You will be hearing more from us about that. So let's get back into this. We love our teachers, and we don't want them to think we don't love them. One of the things that when you love and you care about on somebody, you try to show up. Should we do something like a festival or something for the educators throughout the city of New Orleans? Should we give them a fest? Should they have a teacher pass? Well, because I'm an educator, I get an aquarium free when I got my free day. What can we do for our teachers that more? Because a lot of them come out their pocket to help kids, and they're not making as much as everybody else. They're not like the police where they can have a $30,000 salary, kick into all that overtime and make $100,000. So what can we do? What they need a festival? Let's talk about it. Let's bring it up there. They need a pass or something. What?
Yeah. So with Empty Desk, I decided to partner with the New Orleans Youth Alliance. So what we're going to do is we're going to have like a trauma-informed retention kind of like class, and teachers are going to be able to come, and I'll actually be like teaching about it and just teaching Empty Desk. So I thought that was something cool for me to do. I think that it'd be cool. I know New Orleans, we do like NOLA Teacher Fest, and I know that we have some like conferences and stuff like that. The conferences are so much, thousands of dollars to go to. So yeah, I think it'd be cool to just have some more like free stuff. I'm also in the works of emailing certain people. I want to put on a school supply drive, but just for teachers, because I feel like we always do school supplies for students, but people don't know that teachers buy everything. They are given absolutely nothing. So I'm in the works of emailing different people so that I could try and do a teacher school supply drive so that we can just get them some stuff to do their classrooms. I have a couple of friends from LSU who's going into education and stuff like that, who's graduated and starting to become teachers. So I just think that it's pretty cool. I'm trying to use my resources to put that on.
Man, I think that's nice. And I never heard that before. It's always we care about the kids, but the teachers need the things they need too. So I think shouts out, and we would constantly put information out. And if you want to be a part of that, give them some information how they can You got an email or something, or how do you contact you?
I mean, you could just email me like text me on Instagram. My Instagram is Lejay Watts. I'm very bored. It's very boring. It's just Lejay Watts, and you could just text me about it. Yeah. Right now, I'm just in the outreach stage of it, like sending PR emails to different brands and stuff to see if they could ship me some stuff. So.
All right. Thanks. And they got this question: What do you do when the? I'll make sure I say this right. What do you do when a payment has been paid already? Is that I'm asking that question?
What do you do when the debt has been paid?
The debt has been paid already.
Mm-hmm.
That question right there, that's an interesting one to me. Give me some details on it.
Yeah, so the question he asked was, what do you do when you feel like the debt has been paid? And that's in reference to trauma debt, which I define in the book as the psychological toll educators face when they have experienced losing a student. So I definitely think that, like you mentioned earlier, we talk about financial debt, we talk about spiritual debt. We don't talk about trauma debt, and we don't talk about you can actually be in debt with trauma. You can be so far on in life, but on an emotional level, you're so far behind because you have not been honest with yourself about some of the things that you've experienced, and you have not took the time out or may not have the resources to address a lot of the things that you've witnessed. So I definitely think what it looks like to have all of that paid off is to be able to stand up and advocate for what's going on. You know, I think that it gets to a point where you have to be accepting of what's going on. And also, what I like to do is I don't like to drown myself in stuff I can't control, you know. I definitely think with a lot of advocates and with a lot of advocacy things that goes on in New Orleans, it doesn't really get anywhere because I think a lot of people feel defeated when you don't see results or you don't see progress in some of the work that you're doing. You have to slow down. You have to realize that change takes time. It took over 100 years for the civil rights movement to happen, so I can't imagine how long it's going to take to really transform New Orleans, because it's not going to take overnight. It may not even be in my lifetime, and I'm a lot younger than all of you. So, you know, you have to be real about some of the stuff that you're doing. So, yeah, just paying that debt off, you know, being honest with yourself, being honest with what you can handle and what you could take on. And sometimes you have to go out and do it yourself. You know, it's easy to say what we need in the schools, but it's not easy to say what you need right now. So I can't just go out and put a book out and say, yeah, we need to do this in the schools. Some teachers need this right now. It's a lot of teachers who need free therapy right now, free counseling, free things like this. So sometimes you just have to live in the moment. You know, we can't always wait for change to happen because change takes time. And I think that if you spend your whole life just waiting on one moment, be the moment, you know, be that part of the change you want to see, because it's going to help you a little bit better with that trauma that you haven't, you know, unfolded yet.
Yeah, our next segment is called Do You Remember, where we take you back from TV shows, radio, books to see if you remember.
Okay.
Would you like, are you in or you out?
I'm in.
All right.
Let's do
All right.
it.
Now you're much younger, so
I know.
all right. This first question, do you remember your first book that you ever read?
Yes.
Yeah, what it was?
The first book that I ever really read was The Giver. This was in the 4th grade by my teacher, Miss Anderson, from Martin Luther King.
What her name was again?
Miss Anderson.
Miss Anderson. She still teach that?
I don't know, probably so. But the book was called The Giver, and it was like my first big chapter book, and I just fell in love with it. It was the first book where I'm like, wow, like these are a lot of big words, a lot of pages. And I wrote an essay. This was my first ever essay I ever wrote, 4th grade. And the amount of feedback I got on that essay, I'm like, oh, I could really write, you know, I could really do some things. So, yeah, that was my first ever book.
Yeah. Rick, what your first one was?
It was I can't remember, bro. I ain't gonna lie. But I did used to read for an organization called Reading Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to go around and I used to read to the kindergartens and pre-K students.
Right.
Out of 5th or 6th grade, but I can't remember the first book I read. I was a fluent reader back then, but I can't remember, honestly.
I want to say the first one that I actually could remember. I want to say when Clifford came out,
The Big Red Dog.
But the one I'm really proud of when I had to do my book report, and it's crazy. I had to do a book report in the 5th grade on Black History Month. You know they always come around, and I got Malcolm X. That's how I fell in love with Malcolm X. But I didn't actually pay attention. I just wrote stuff down basic. My best friend, he got Muhammad Ali. So the same principal I'm telling you about, Mr. Ernest Lewis, asked him, tell me something about Muhammad Ali. And he was like, his name was Cassius Clay, he changed his name and all that. And then he asked me about Malcolm X. And I was like, I ain't finished yet. But I ain't never went to go look. And I went and looked in the book. Come to find out, they was friends. And his name was Malcolm Little. And just so happened, me and him was friends. And it just went together. But that's the first one I can actually remember that I actually cared about reading.
Yeah.
And I carried Malcolm X 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. Every time I had on history report, I used to be the first one. I got Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Because I already had the thing. So, on this next, do you remember? Do you remember your first parade that you went to?
Yes, I'm marching every parade. I've been like dancing since I could walk. My first, what was it?
It had to be MLK. You went to MLK?
Yeah.
Or you was dancing before that?
I was dancing. Yeah, I was dancing at MLK. But the first, I don't even know the first parade. Probably was like Mardi Gras Day or something like that.
And who you was dancing for?
I danced for MLK and then I danced at Easton. Yeah.
And that's when you know Martin Luther King have his own day. So is that a big day for the school and everybody?
Yeah, we always like for his parade. We were always like first in the parade or whatever. So it was like a big thing. But yeah.
I want you to ask the movie. You ever seen Set It Off?
So, yes.
Yeah. Ask the Set It Off movie questions.
I'm actually a Set It Off question. All right. I wasn't going. Rick wanted me to ask you this one. All right. You Queen Latifah.
Okay.
You in that situation.
Okay.
Are you getting out and surrender, or you stand right there and let it play out?
I would have got on the bus. I would have just.
Everybody said the same thing.
She should have been. I would have got on the bus.
You're in the car. It already happened. Or you getting out, put your hands up and take your time. Cause remind you, all these bank robbers up until they never killed anyone.
Oh.
This one, they actually killed the guard. They did all that. So you already know it's gonna be a long time if you turn yourself in, or you went out like a soldier.
I don't know, cause I mean, it wasn't nowhere to go at that point. I was just gonna have to turn myself in. I don't never want to be shot. No, they did her bad. They shot her up. I would have probably just got out and took the. I would have just took myself out or something, but I wasn't doing jail time. She was gonna be. They was gonna give her life probably.
When you watch that movie, like, what is your favorite parts in that particular movie that you can remember?
My favorite part was her like escaping on the bus, cause it's sad. Cause when I watched the movie, I'm like, I know that they robbing banks, but you know how you just feel empathetic. Like I'm like, I really don't give a care that she left with the money, cause she deserved it. She lost her brother, all of this stuff. But I didn't like the greed. They could have gotten away with it. They were too greedy.
No, they wasn't gonna do it no more. Luther stole
their money.
Yeah, Luther stole their money.
It was just too greedy and just too much. They got in too deep with it, you know.
Yeah, and you know what I always say, Rick? The hood always do me that. I always empathize. Like I could be in a barbershop and somebody coming up with stolen stuff from Walmart, Family Dollar, and all that. I don't never look at that as a crime. I be like, how many deodorant that is?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But I look on the news, somebody stealing them teachers' pension. I be like, man, that's put them in jail or whatever. But the hood just bring my sympathy out or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all with me. It's all in what you do and who you take from.
Yeah,
all stealing, not the same.
Not the same. Not the same for sure.
So I want you. Are you willing to come back to be a friend of this show, Everybody Podcast?
Yes, I will come back.
All right. I want you to look right there into the camera, and I want you to tell people how they can find you, how they can get in contact with you, and how they can get this book.
Okay. Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, LeJ Watts. I'm very basic. It's just my first name and my last name, no underscores. And yeah, all my information is on Instagram. The book is free of charge. For the topic that I'm talking about, I don't want to charge people. Like, this is valuable information people need. So, it's free. You can access it. We have a website. It's on Hazing, and it's empty-nola / at hazing.com. It's also on Google Play Books for people who may have reading disabilities. So it is ADA accessible. It's been overlooked by the American Disability Association. So if you're somebody who the words are too small or you need it audio read to you, that's also an option as well. So yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll get all the information.
And once again, I'm the Honorable Darren D. Purnell, the street speaker. And don't forget to get me and Rick book Business Minutes available on Amazon. Yo, Rick.
Well, you heard the man. Businessman is on Amazon right now. So y'all make sure y'all cop y'all a copy. As for today, I hope this session was just as informative to you as it was to us. For us, you can find us on Erabody's podcast. That's ERA Bodies Podcast on all social media sites. And we out. Peace.